Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 22. Two for 22. Uh, it's a. I'll just start by introducing my co-host, and I'll explain 22. Elizabeth Rouse, how are you?
I'm hanging in. How are you?
I'm better now that I said two for 22. Um, there was a cricket commentator named Richie Benno, who's probably the most
Mhm.
famous cricket commentator in the world,
Mhm.
and he had a little lisp when he used to
Oh
commentate.
no.
And so one of the favorite sayings that he had was, if there were two batters out and they scored 22 runs, he'd be like, two for 22.
The
So
the
Richie,
easy
this episode is for you, my friend.
the easy reference there was just to start singing 22 by Taylor Swift.
No,
But you missed that one, so it's okay. Tell us what your name is.
I'm I'm Murray Elbourne, the co-host of the podcast. And today, people, I am wearing a Messi Argentinian FIFA World Cup winners number 10 shirt in celebration of the World Cup starting very soon in America.
That would have been fitting if it was number 22 on your shirt.
It would have been, but unfortunately, soccer players only go up to 11.
There what?
Soccer player numbers only go up to 11, my friend.
Really?
Well, I mean, there's, the nobodies that are on the bench, but it's 11 aside. So, yes.
Well, but like in baseball, there's nine, and Anthony Rizzo is number 44.
Well, baseball, you can wear whichever jersey you'd like or the number, but in soccer, it's positional. So if you're
Oh,
an
interesting.
attacker, like if you're the striker kicking
Uh-huh.
goal, you probably wear 9 or 10. If you're in the midfield, it's 8 to kind of 5, and then 4-3-2 in the backfield defending, and then one is the goalkeeper.
Interesting. See, like I know American football has like, hey, your linebackers might wear the whatevers, they
Right.
have like their tens or their
Quarterbacks
groupings.
are typically, 1 to 20.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit
Yeah.
similar system, but a bit
Interesting.
different. In
Well,
rugby league, in Australia, same thing. Your number is dictated by your position that you play.
well, there you go. I learned something today. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's part of the charm of being Australian.
Yeah.
Although soccer isn't really Australian, so I just have a world view of things. Today,
It's
Lizzie,
fine.
we are talking about the top 10 accessible apps in the world.
Yay!
Costco is not on this list, Lizzie, just so you know.
Note that I did not say Costco. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was talking to my mom about our podcast the other day. She's like, "What do you guys talk about?" And I said, "Honestly, whatever we show up and decide." And
Right.
I told her about the top 10 most successful scores, and I was like, "Monica, Costco wasn't one of them." And she was so upset on our behalf.
It's very
So
disrespectful to call your mother Monica. I just think you should
well,
call her
my friends
mom.
call her Mamica, which I think is kind of cute. So
Monica.
sometimes
That
I
has a
bust out
ring
that
to
one.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes I bust out that one.
All right. Fair enough.
Yeah.
I'm not glad that Monica was upset with that. But I've been calling, since our first top 10 episode, I've
Mhm.
now transitioned to calling Lizzie the GeoPeep on a regular basis. So that is her new nickname. So if you have any feedback, please include GeoPeep if it's specific for Lizzie.
I
All right,
love peeps.
Lizzie.
I love
What
peeps
app do
so.
you hope is number one in the list?
Okay, so are these like general apps or are these like blindness specific non-visual access apps?
Blindness specific apps.
Oh, seeing AI has to be somewhere on this list. Um, I don't know if it would be like anywhere near number one, but I mean like Ira might be on here, Be My Eyes might be on here. I'm very intrigued to see what I don't know off of this list. Bard, voice stream reader, something like that. So how about this? Because I love to read, my hope is that Bard cracks the top five. We'll see if it happens. We'll see if it's even on the list.
Okay.
I'm
Let's
ready.
get let's get cracking.
Yay!
Number 10 is Cash Reader. Currency
Interesting.
recognition, vibration feedback, offline use. No public data about how many people use it, but estimated to be hundreds of thousands. And
Mhm.
global supports 121 currencies.
Interesting. Okay, that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
I have never heard of this. I have never used it. Money identification is a trick of the trade on Seeing AI, which is how I use it if I need it. But very cool. I the two things that stand out to me is the offline, right? So it doesn't need an internet connection. That's kind of baller. And I'm kind of impressed that it recognizes that much currency. That's also kind of cool.
yeah, it is. I
Yeah.
think like the world is closing the gap, right? So it used to be anything worked in your country and regionalization, but like lately, I think a lot of these apps and things that we've been using cross over really well. And one thing that I love now is, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, is
Uh-huh.
you're listening, like a lot of the smart classes have
Yep.
interpretation of languages in so many different countries now. So
Yep.
I used to go to China in the 90s and I was SOL because I could learn how to say hello and goodbye and thank you. And that was about my
Mhm.
vocabulary. But now you can just like, it's so easier to travel than it used to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Number nine, Lizzie, Bard.
Yay! Okay, I'm happy that it's on the list. I didn't even care that it's not top five. I'm happy it's here.
Free audio books for Lizzie to listen to 110 each year.
Uh-huh.
Braille audio downloads, offline reading. And then it says restricted to eligible NLS users, no
Hmm.
public download count. It's in the United States only through
Hmm.
Library of Congress NLS.
Yes. Okay. Couple of notes on Bard. One, NLS, National Library Service. This is totally free. Call your state library. You can use this. I find the app to be really user friendly. Sometimes the quality of the audio recording is like meh. But if you find narrators that you like, a lot of the times I found that the narrators like frequent the service. So depending on what you know to look for and how to look for it, can be really beneficial.
Can you
Um,
search
I
by narrator?
I don't think you can search by narrator. You can on Audible. But sometimes I'll like do a series and I just find a series that like the narrator continues through the books. And that's kind of nice. The other thing that I will tell you though, Murray, is I think I am at 39 books on the year so far. So I think I'm a little bit behind,
For
but
the
not too
slow
far.
start, Lizzie.
Dude, don't sass me.
You're 39 compared to my two, so we're pretty even, I think.
Yeah, so shush.
I will tell you, talking about narration, and this is a little embarrassing, but I have to articulate my Australianism charms here. My Temmie's two cousins continually ask me to narrate books for them or just record my voice on loop so that they can hear me. It's a little disturbing when she's on the phone and they keep saying how wonderful my voice sounds and how they've missed hearing it. It's a little disturbing saying, putting that out there. Families
Oh,
families need to respect each other's whatever
boundaries.
boundaries is a good one. Number eight, Google Lookout. Now this is a newer app
Okay.
that
Mhm.
has kind of hit the market, and there's a lot of buzz about Google Lookout. I have not got into it too much, but it says text reading, object recognition,
Mhm.
document mail sorting,
Mm.
um, Google Play range community, 1 million plus installs,
Mm.
and Android users globally, especially US, India, and Europe.
Mm.
So all of the population countries, populous,
Yeah, never heard of it, so I'm not informed on this one.
not unformed. All right, check out Google Lookout. It's kind of new. It's been updated a lot. I think it's quite accessible from all reports. So if you
There you
are a
go.
Google user, I'm sure you'll be all over it like mice on cheese.
There you go.
Mm. Number seven, Blind Square.
Okay, I've heard of this one for like years and years, and I've never been a frequent user. I think I tried it like once when I was in like middle school or high school or something.
It says accessible GPS announces streets, businesses, indoor outdoor navigation,
Hmm.
60,000 plus users,
Mm.
186 countries.
Ooh,
So it might be more of like an international type brand.
yeah, yeah.
I will say I was listening to, her name is Joe Rose on TikTok. And Joe
Mm.
Rose was talking about this accessible app that you can actually call or go into. and it'll have a fine young lady with a British accent talk to you and say how accessible restaurants and other places are. And you can ask it questions, and it acts as an AI
Interesting.
simulation. But it was very cool. Like she was asking it about, is there steps? Are there accessible bathrooms? Are there steps inside the restaurant? What's the
Mhm.
lighting like? How are the menus to be able to see? And the AI gave it back really good responses. I was very impressed with it. And so I might get Joe to come on and talk about that actually, because it's a pretty cool tool, I think, for people to use. Obviously,
Okay.
restaurants is a bit of a challenging environment for us people with blindness and low vision. So
Can be, yeah.
if
Mhm.
that is transferable to America, I'm sure that a lot of people would be interested.
Yeah.
Number 6 is Envision AI.
Another one that I've heard a lot about, Jonathan Mosen talks about this one a lot, I think.
Yeah, it is popular. When I was at NFB Texas State Convention, they were a major sponsor, and I met the head of their marketing.
Mhm.
And it seemed like there were some really good aspects to it. I have not used it widely,
Mhm.
just a little bit in some of my workshops, but it reads print, handwriting, describes surroundings, recognizes people and products. And I think the products per portion, especially in grocery stores, was the one that they were talking about at the Texas State NFB convention. It says no public Apple number. Google Play suggests large niche adoption, and it's prevalent in US, Europe, India, and global English-speaking markets.
I'm just imagining what my life would be like if I started using something like this, like in Meta glasses, right? And I was like, hey, Meta, tell me who's in this room. And like, but like in a subtle way. I don't know how I'd do it in a subtle way. But like, if I just walked in and I was like, oh, hey, Murray, right? And you hadn't said anything, you'd be like, how did you know I was here?
Right? You're not blind.
Literally, so many people would be like, you're faking it. Give me the stick. Like, no way.
Give me the stick.
That's wild.
All right. Number 5, NVDA.
Okay, is NVDA an app or is NVDA a screen reader? Because I thought it was a screen reader.
NVDA is technically a screen reader, but it's one that you can download free from the stores.
Okay,
And
well then Jaws is totally gonna be somewhere on this list. I
well,
would not have called that an
yours is
app.
more a program than an app.
But NVDA is a program.
All right. Well, this is what it says.
Okay, tell me.
This controversial peep. Um, Free Windows screen reader, keyboard navigation,
Yep.
web office access. And then it
Mhm.
says no exact downloads used by 65.6% of web AIM screen reader survey
Yep.
respondents.
Yep.
Global, especially Windows users, and lower cost access markets. So I was in, and it's free to download. And so
Yep.
if you are just kind of starting out, or you've just become blind, or you've just lost vision, NVDA is a great one to start to learn. It's really easy to navigate and get the instructions. It's not overly complicated. It probably takes maybe 2 hours to play around with before you're comfortable with it. We used it recently in our career sphere program in
Mhm.
Las Vegas. It was loaded onto all of the computers at
Yeah.
the Nevada Center for the Blind. And so it's a great tool to get started, I think. It's not as advanced as JAWS, obviously. That's why you're paying the premium for JAWS.
Mhm.
But if you just want something to be able to navigate and talk as a screen reader, it does the job.
Yeah. Well, and let's again, circle back to one of the things that we've said on this podcast for months at this point is as many tools as you can have in your toolbox, right? I mean, narrator comes automatically built into Windows computers. Do I think it's the greatest thing ever? No, but when JAWS stops working, I know how to turn on narrator, right? So if you want to poke around, more power to you. I know some people live, swear, and die on the NVDA hill. Like they love it and it works for them. More power to them. I'm no qualms with NVDA. Not mine, but no qualms.
Yeah, it is a great starting tool
Yeah,
and free. So that's two good things.
yeah.
Number 4, yes, number 4 is voiceover.
Okay,
Full.
again, not an app.
Okay, calm your farm. Calm your farm.
Call my what?
Farm. That means all the animals need to be quiet. Okay,
Calm your farm.
calm your farm. Um, full iPhone. Stop it. Full iPhone controls. Read screens aloud. Braille support. Built into Apple devices, not downloaded separately. So, okay, I'm on your team on this. Okay, it isn't necessarily
Mhm.
an app; it's inbuilt, so it can't really be an app. But it is an app inbuilt into Apple, essentially. Global Apple users, obviously. So, tell me about VoiceOver because to me, VoiceOver really changed the game.
VoiceOver completely changed the game. VoiceOver is monumental in that it is a built-in service that blind people can rely on for out-of-the-box accessibility, right? So you get any Apple product, a MacBook, an iPad, an Apple Watch, an iPhone, you name it, you pull it out of the box, you can turn on VoiceOver, and you receive specific prompts that then can teach you different ways to use VoiceOver. If you're more of an advanced VoiceOver user, you can kind of skip those things, but it really walks you through how to use that device in an effective way with that screen reader support. Obviously, right, it has apps that it does and doesn't work super well with. There are glitches in every system, but generally speaking, VoiceOver is phenomenal. Particularly for me, I've always been an iPhone user. My first smartphone, my 11th grade year in high school, my junior year, I got an iPhone. And I've gone from like a 5S to a 6S to like a 7 Plus, through the generations. Now I have a 16 Pro, and I could not be the phone user that I am today without VoiceOver. I don't have a lot of exposure to TalkBack. Androids do have something similar, kind of like NVDA. For some folks, it's their end game, right? Respect that. But I think the big game changer with VoiceOver for me is voiceover makes me feel much more confident. Even to the point where, like, when my parents go through phone updates, they literally give me their phones. They're like, here's my password, set up my new phone. And I am the Apple person in our house because of voiceover. And I don't think that that would be the case without that level of accessibility built in. It's very empowering. It really fosters that independence, that culture, that, as a National Federation of the Blind member, when we go and we lobby on Capitol Hill for different things, we advocate. One of the prime examples we point to is voiceover. Does it go through hiccups when we update sometimes that good old iOS? You bet it does, but Apple also does a pretty fair job of hiring blind employees to help troubleshoot and notice some of those hiccups as they come along. So, I will write my ode to voicemail love letter. Not voicemail, voiceover.
VoiceOver.
Yeah, in the not
Voicemail,
terribly distant future.
voicemail's younger sister.
Yeah, exactly. Stepsister.
What
Stepsister.
is what is the how long does it take to really master voiceover to a I guess an example where you feel comfortable using it around your iPhone?
I think if you're using your phone appropriately, right? Like you're not sitting down and doing like 8 hours on a phone, right?
Yeah,
It might take you a couple weeks.
yeah.
I don't remember it taking long, but I also will admit, I was 17 years old. Um, I think there's also just like endless capabilities with voiceover. Like there are things that I could use with voiceover that I don't. There are things that I love with voiceover, right? One of the things that iPhones come with now is this incredible technological advancement called Braille screen input. So instead of sitting here on my phone typing like this, I can go like this and I can literally type in Braille on my phone. PSA, for anyone who knows Braille screen input hand gestures really well, my phone is still stuck in one-handed mode. So if anybody knows how to get that off when using Braille screen input, let me know. Thank you.
I'm gonna
Um,
I'm gonna put it in the blind talk and do a little video for you, Lizzie. So
Dude, if you could, I would be so thrilled.
yeah, I'm sure there's gonna be
But
one person out there who can tell me.
but yeah, I also think that knowing that so many other people in the blindness community use voiceover, I think it's something that a lot of people see as more manageable. because there are people out there tackling that topic. And you can phone a friend and say, "Hey, come sit with me for 5 minutes or for an hour while I play around with this and learn the basics." And I think that really opens up a world of possibility when it comes to iPhone usage, when it comes to Apple usage in general, but particularly that phone connection. I'm gunning really hard to get my grandma an iPhone this summer, and that is literally because I know how to operate an iPhone because of VoiceOver.
Hey, do they have a Apple store in Iowa?
We have one in Des Moines, which is like 2.5 hours away.
Hmm, okay, real world
Yeah,
problems.
yeah, not super close.
Well, I think VoiceOver is a quality product, and it's
Yeah,
definitely one reason that Apple has separated themselves in the marketplace through
yes.
blindness and low vision for sure.
Amen.
Number three, Lizzie. We're getting into the big three here.
Mhm.
Number three is Ira.
Yeah, I'm doing so good. Okay, yes. Describe me. Go ahead, I'm ready.
Professional visual interpreters. Navigation help workplace travel support. No public download number.
Mhm.
Prevalent in the US, Canada, UK, Australia.
Good on
Strong
ya.
airport, university, retail.
Yep, yep. Another one that's of travel, right? So many people will utilize IRA services to navigate an airport. I think the other really amazing thing, at least used to be the case with IRA, I don't know if it is anymore, for reasons that we'll get to after we get off this list. You had to be using, if you were traveling, you had to be using a white cane or using a guide dog. You had to be handling a guide dog in order to like have IRA support you. And I love that safety piece. It's not, hey, I'm going to be your eyes. It's I'm a supplementary tool. And I think that goes a really long way in my mind and in my heart.
It's interesting, I know well, I've met and spoken to in some fair amount of detail the CEOs of both Ira and Be My Eyes and the
Yep.
creator of Seeing AI. And so in recent times, I think, it's interesting to see the different directions that they've taken
Yeah.
and how they've kind of found their own niches in the blind low vision communities. And they do, a lot of different work, although it seems like they're the same product. And one thing that I love that Ira does is they geo map an area that they're going to work within. And
Mhm.
so we're working with Ira right now across this year's US Open tennis, and
Oh,
we're
cool.
hoping to be able to have Ira geomap Flushing Meadow as a park,
Mhm.
and then describe and assist people with blindness going to the US Open this year for tennis
Yeah.
in New York. And I just think like it's a really great service. Obviously, they've gone the professional trained interpreters for navigation as opposed to the volunteer route that Be My Eyes have gone.
Yeah.
And I think like there's just they're a paid service versus a free service, so
Yep.
there are differences between them, but I think both are so valuable in their own ways for sure.
I think it's also reflected, right, in the quality of the product. Like Be My Eyes can be great for some things, but one of the perks that I always remember, being taught when it came to IRA was like, don't open your mail on Be My Eyes because, they're not employees, whereas IRA has received special, IRA's staff has received special training. There's maybe some different like user agreement things involved that make it a safer environment.
Yeah,
And I think the training makes all the difference. So you pay for the quality when it comes to IRA. I have experienced some pretty lengthy IRA wait times, which I don't love, but like beggars can't be choosers. You have to take everything into reality and that's life.
yeah, I know that a lot of people do use it in Australia. I have a couple of blind lawyer friends who use it a lot, and take large monthly packages to use
Yeah.
it for a whole bunch of different things. And so
Yeah.
I've heard very good responses about Ira,
Yeah.
which is great. And Troy, who's the CEO, is a quality guy. So hoping
There
to
you
be
go.
able to do more with Ira in the future. Number two,
This episode sponsored by IRA.
right. They're going to be too busy sponsoring my tennis trophies, actually. So,
There you go. Respect. Respect.
number two, seeing AI.
Hey! I love when I'm right about something.
Which particular thing were you right about? You did say a number of speculative comments at the beginning.
I just knew that CNAI was going to be close to the top of this list. It's a free service. I really, really like it. I know it's not the most secure thing in the world, so like don't go be reading your medical documents on it, but like I love it. I love, I have used this as recently as 20 minutes before we got on the podcast. I went to the post office and I picked up some packages and I was like, I could ask my mom to read me the names on these, but my mom was on the phone and I was like, I want to know which one of these is mine. And I literally just whipped out CNAI and I found out that two of them were my brother's and one of them was mine and one of them was my mom's. And it's just like an independent, quick, efficient thing. Not even surprised that it's close to the top of this list.
Well, here's what it says. Reads text, documents, identifies products, describes
Yep.
scenes and people.
Yep.
No public Apple number, likely 1 million plus total users and downloads. Strong in US, UK, Canada, Australia, and Europe.
Yep.
I don't know if people know this, but UK is in Europe. So, ChatGPT,
Um,
here's a note for you.
the
UK is
big
in Europe.
the big bummer about CNAI is that I do not think there is an equivalent. At least there wasn't the last time I had a conversation about it in the non-Apple store, like Android, Google, anything like
Right.
that. I don't think there's an equivalent.
Yeah.
That's the one area where I'd love to see CNAI expand, so that people who haven't joined the right, of iPhones, just kidding, use your device however you may please. Um, I wish they had that accessibility too.
Yeah. I think in talking to the creator who's English, and now in Microsoft in Seattle.
Oh, cool.
He definitely outlined that voice is probably the number one thing to take this to the next level in users working with it in an ease of use circumstance. And so he's very committed and he's totally blind. So
Oh,
I think
cool.
that's another advantage to have people who are, users running these companies. And
Yeah.
I have to say, of the ones that are on here, there's a lot of blind consulting, and nothing about us without us happening in
Yeah.
all of these companies, which is also really great to see.
Okay, I will say though, because we're a fair, equal opportunity successes and failures team, color identifier kind of sucks.
Okay,
Just I'm putting it out there, kind of sucks.
I'll give some feedback for you
Respectfully.
respectfully.
What's number one? What's number one? What's number one?
Be my eyes.
I cannot believe Be My Eyes beat out Ira. And okay, yes I can. Yes I can. And I'll tell you why when you're done reading me the description. Go ahead. Proceed.
Live volunteer video help. Be my AI image description.
Hmm.
Company support. Here's the reason that I think it's number one. 1 million plus blind low vision users, 10 million plus volunteers,
Hmm.
150 countries, 180 languages.
Okay, you're wrong. The reason that it's the most popular is literally because of the image descriptor.
Okay.
I am willing to die on that hill, even if it's the wrong hill. Um, I do not use Be My Eyes for anything except Be My AI image descriptor.
Yeah. Tell me
Yeah,
the
it's
advantages of my AI image descriptor.
so I'm sure that there's other applications that would do this. But one of the things that I love about the AI image descriptor is somehow my phone works with itself. And when I go into my pictures, I can literally hit the share button and scroll all the way down, and I don't have to like upload the photo to a different app and be like, "Hey, describe this to me." Blah blah blah. It's literally just there. It says auto generate, Be My AI description or describe with Be My AI or whatever it says. Boom, right there. I can copy it, I can edit it, I can do whatever I want to with it. Game changer. Absolute game changer. And come for me in the comments if there's other ones that you're like, dude, Ira does the same thing. That's great for Ira. Ira costs money. Be My A is free, it's efficient, and it makes it so easy. It makes it so easy. And like, yes, it's not always perfect, right? But total game changer.
Well, I just interacted with the CEO, Mike, in Stronger Together conference in Washington State, Vancouver, Washington State, and he was our
Mhm.
keynote speaker. and just a very down to earth, grounded guy, and works with the creator who's from the Netherlands, who is legally blind. And they've done some amazing work. I mean, just to get 10 million volunteers for a start, sign
Yeah.
to help people with blindness is an amazing effort, and they're committed to be able to releasing more opportunities to help people with blindness and low vision in the job readiness
Hmm.
and job employment fields. They've just released a new product into the Microsoft Store for that, so that's worthwhile going and having a look and seeing if it can assist you. Um, but yeah, all up, I have to say one thing I love about working in the industry now is that you do meet so many cool people
Hmm.
that really care about blindness and low vision and go the extra yard in this
Yeah.
environment of AI and technology and assistive and adaptive technology, accessible technology, to really do the extra yards to help so many people. It's vital.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, are you ready for my next Elizabeth tidbit of the day?
I am. Hit me with it.
Okay. Um, One of the best things that I can encourage you to do after listening to this list, other than download the apps and test them out for yourself, is remember that these apps are not a substitute for confidently and independently navigating the world in a safe manner. Um, I condoned or praised, Ira for saying you have to use a cane or you have to use a guide dog. Always be prepared with a couple tools. Like, what are you going to do if your phone dies? What are you going to do if you don't have an internet connection or you run out of Ira minutes or something like that? Make sure that on top of continuing to expand your electronic skill set, you're still maintaining those other independence skills. Because we don't want to get stuck between a rock and a hard place. I can count the number of times that I've seen people who are like, yeah, I'm going to test out this technology and see how it works, and it's going to be awesome. And it leads to some really awkward, weird situations. Where like if you had just like taken your head out of your technology and listened to your environment, um, this would have been figured out so much sooner. So acknowledge that the tech is great, which it is, but don't be afraid to like immerse yourself in the present as well, and just like walk up to somebody and ask for directions if you feel safe to do that. Those skills also need to be maintained. I think that's a really important part, particularly for those of us who travel a lot. Really, really big thing to keep strong.
I think that's a really good point. And we kind of live in an environment where everybody's in their own space, I feel like.
Yeah.
And, we're kind of not afraid, but we're hesitant to engage with other people anymore. And
Hmm.
that's just a trend that's happened over the years, which I
Hmm.
hate. I'm a people person and I love talking to people and, engaging with people. And so I feel like that's a skill, to your
Yep.
point, that's going away for people with blindness and low vision because they are in their technology so much and they don't interact as much as they used to with other people, which is not.
Yeah. And the reality of the matter is you always have to have a plan B if your technology dies or breaks. God forbid those things do happen. I love that people can do it, and I love that people are learning how to do it. If you want to use meta glasses to navigate an airport with Ira, please, like, show me how it's done. I would love to learn that. But at the end of the day, that interaction with that IRA agent could also be duplicated with people around you if that IRA agent is unavailable to you for whatever reason. So just bear it in mind. Technology is great when it works. Technology doesn't always work.
Yeah, definitely the core to get your O&M skills to a level
Yes.
that you can travel independently is super important.
Yes.
Yeah. So, Lizzie, to my this side that I'm pointing to, which is my left side, in the middle of the screen towards Lizzie, there are QR codes down the middle of this screen, and that will take you to social media, of which we are posting this on our YouTube channel, and then it'll be posted on our iTunes, Apple iTunes, and our Spotify, and you can just search Ameribility Podcasts, Changing the
Hmm.
Narrative, and it will
Hmm.
come up for you. And we'd like to thank Cat Technologies, who is our sponsor. Cat Technologies do a great job of assisting students in a whole range of states with assistive technology and training for assistive technology. And Ting, who is the manager, and then Eli and the team at CAT do a fantastic job in assisting people with blindness, low vision, and teachers, and a whole range of schools and public entity as well. They put assistive technology into places like libraries, public libraries, and in your community as well. So CAT does a great job.
Next episode, we're going to discuss the difference between assistive and access technology.
Are we?
That's like mostly a joke. I don't want to have that conversation.
I think I was surprised when Lizzie said that she wanted to do the top 10 accessible apps today. I gave her an alternative, and she said, "I'll do the apps." I nearly fell over because Lizzie is not
Not a
always
tech girly.
a tech girly, but
No, not a
yeah.
tech girly. All
So
right.
any
Resource share?
final announcements, Lizzie?
Resource share.
Yes, resource share.
Resource share. One thing that came up in my mind today while we were talking through these apps, if you are an Apple person, or if you want to be an Apple person, or if you have an old Apple product, one of the things that I also love about Apple as a company is they do the recycling program. So if you just like literally Google recycle an old Apple device, if it's worth something, they'll give you an Apple gift card for it. They'll actually send you all the packaging that you need, da 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 da. And if it's not worth something, they will still send you the packaging or at least a label so you can responsibly recycle the technology you are no longer using. And I wish every company did this. I have a couple of old Braille displays I actually really need to retire. And me retiring them is actually just finding them a home that isn't my closet. So definitely utilize this. I think I cut the cost of my mom's most recent pair of AirPods Pro in like half just from recycling, an old pair of my AirPods or an old iPad or whatever it was. So not always going to be a huge moneymaker, but definitely something to check out if you are trying to clear out some space with your technology.
Good work. I think anything that helps the environment is good, but also can
Yes.
give you some money back is better. I'm just about to retire my fourth last phone, which is my S12, which I guess isn't getting supported in the new update of Apple 27. Uh,
Mm,
so iOS 27. So I guess I'll have to do that as well.
there you go.
My resource share is that at NFB National Convention
Mhm.
in less than 1 month,
30 days.
30 days from today.
32, actually, technically.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
US Blind Tennis will have an exhibit table in the exhibit hall,
Mhm.
and we invite you to come and say hello. I will be there at the table with a representative from the United States Tennis Association, and we're excited to talk to you about our national championships in Pittsburgh in August, and invite the community to really get out and start living. We just did another podcast with a early 30s, I believe, girl who works for Accenture in Washington, D.C. And she moved there because of the accessibility of the metro. And she's a runner. She hasn't linked up with Achilles yet, but loves running. And as her Stargard's vision decreased and her center blind spot got bigger, she still keeps running and being active. And so I think for a lot of people, it's accessibility, it's transport, it's
Yeah.
cost. There's a whole bunch of different reasons why people aren't as active as they could be. But this is an opportunity to join a community and become active. So I
There you go.
encourage everybody to get out there and do that.
Absolutely. Well, with that, the final announcement that I have is we don't know about you, but we're feeling the conclusion of episode 22. So that was my off riff Taylor Swift quote. Thank you for joining us for episode 22 of Changing the Narrative. We will be back and better than ever for episode 23, whenever that may be. And we encourage you to share this with your friends, to share this with your communities. Let us know what you want us to talk about. We are creative thinkers, but we would love your creative support. So if there's something you want to hear about, don't be shy. Thank you again, and we'll see you all next time for Changing the Narrative.
Ta ta.
So I'm proving I'm wrong, shining bright.